Welcome back to another Thematic List Build. This time, my focus shifts to the chapter, which is probably the most unloved as it relates to lore focus, but which always seems to have the rules cheese the tournament players want to squeeze. This one is for the chapter most closely tied to the machine cult, the exemplars of that cold transhuman logic. It's a thematic list build for the Iron Hands. The Iron Hands detachment is the aptly named Ironstorm Spearhead. It's quite potent, but more interestingly, their subfaction rules have taken quite a pivot from 9th edition. The current perk offered by the Armored Wrath detachment rule grants each unit a free hit roll, wound roll, or damage roll once per phase. Whereas before, their 9th edition chapter tactic, The Flesh is Weak, granted all models a 6-up feel no pain and shored up profile degradation thresholds. And so we have a subfaction which was characterized by their defense, and their ability to maintain efficiency on vehicles shifts to a perk which is a straight offensive efficiency boost. It's interesting for a few reasons. For one, rerolls per attack sequence activation was previously an ability type associated with the Salamanders chapter for the previous 2 editions. And I'll say I do like that the shift to a straight efficiency boost carries the spirit of the Iron Hands 9th edition doctrine bonus, which, before GW flipped the table on how doctrines functioned in 9th edition, it did grant the Iron Hands a straight offensive efficiency boost, albeit with heavy weapons. However, here comes the but. While straight offensive efficiency boosts like Armored Wrath are strong, there is something about these types of rules which I dislike.
It's boring! Boring, I'm giving you a boring alert.
And I couldn't have said it better. These types of probability boosting rules don't add any mechanical richness or provide interesting gameplay opportunities. As a convenient point of contrast, we can look to my favorite of the Space Marine detachments. Regardless, we're in 10th edition now, and while I find Armored Wrath to be an effective if boring detachment rule, the Ironstorm Spearhead has a great suite of stratagems and enhancements, including a few familiar Iron Hands favorites. When it comes to the thematic objectives of the list, I'm doing something a little different. Since the Ironstorm Spearhead is the popular go-to detachment for all chapters looking to power game, I feel there's no value in making a thematic list which serves those ends. Because
it's boring!
Instead, I want to build a list focused around the mighty war machines of the Iron Hands and the Techmarines which lead them. Now, let's head over to the list breakdown. This list is organized into a series of nodes, each led by a Techmarine element, and with a vehicle component and dreadnought escort, for that Iron Hands flex. Starting with the Hyper Aggro node intended to break the enemy's armor, which consists of 2 Gladiator Valiants, a Brutalis Dreadnought, and a Techmarine. The Gladiator Valiants are equipped with Twin Last Talons, 2 Multi-Meltas, an Icarus Rocket Pod, and an Iron Hail Heavy Stubber. More often than not, the Gladiator Lancer is the more popular pick due to the superior anti-armor profile of its Laser Destroyer, which despite only having 2 shots is very reliable thanks to the Lancer's ability. However, I've gone with Valiants for a few reasons. For one, the Valiant has a larger array of anti-armor weapons, meaning the Lancer's innate and fewer volume of attacks has less value to gain from Armored Wrath's rerolls, since you can't reroll a reroll. And this difference also means the Valiant is better served by the Mercy is Weakness stratagem, since having 6 meaningful shots is far more likely to leverage sustained hits 1 than the Laser Destroyer's 2 attacks. And lastly, the Valiants just look awesome beside the Brutalis, as all 3 vehicles bearing 2 Multi-Meltas is a nice aesthetic bonus. Speaking of which, the Brutalis Dreadnought is equipped with twin Multi-Meltas and Brutalis Fists, because I think it's better this Dreadnought has iron hands rather than iron claws. In practice, the Brutalis often ends up being a rather expensive distraction Carnifex, but if the opportunity presents itself, its ability, Brutalis Charge, can deal some mortal wounds in the charge phase, which happens to pair nicely with the Tank Shock stratagem. And the Techmarine leading this node has a common ability set available to many engineer-type characters. a command phase ability to heal D3 wounds to a friendly vehicle model, which gives that model +1 to hit, and an ability which gives the Techmarine lone operative while near friendly vehicles. Though, the Techmarine also has a unique ability, where once a friendly vehicle within 3 inches is slain, its Omniscion Power Axe gains 3 more attacks, which could come in handy. This Techmarine has the enhancement Master of War. It grants friendly vehicles within 6 inches the ability to shoot after advancing or falling back, which will be handy to get those meltas in range. Next, we're on to the node aiming to control the midfield, which consists of a repulsor tank, a Redemptor dreadnought, and inside of that repulsor is 5 heavy intercessors led by Iron Father Pharos, who is the warlord of this list. The repulsor has been loaded for all DACA, and serves as the dedicated anti-horde war machine. It makes a whopping 33 attacks across its repulsor defensive array, heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, and twin heavy bolter, which of course can make great use of Mercy's weakness. The Redemptor Dreadnought is equipped with the Macroplasma Incinerator, and is here to provide versatile anti-infantry or anti-elite support. The heavy intercessors are here primarily for Pharos to lead, and while they're clearly not the spiciest Gravis armor choice, they have a more classic aesthetic, and I didn't want to take the spotlight away from the vehicles and Techmarines in the list. As for what they bring to the table, their heavy bolt rifles are strength 5, they are more resilient to damage 1 attacks while on an objective, and they have 15 wounds behind a toughness of 6, which can benefit from Pharos' Rites of Tempering. Which brings us to the warlord of this list. Iron Father Pharos is similar to a Techmarine, but is all around better. He has overall more attacks with better strength on his axe, Harrowhand, and his unique Forge Bolter, Gorgon's Wrath, benefits from sustained hits too. His unique ability is an enhanced variant of the standard Techmarine ability, which restores a consistent 3 lost wounds rather than D3. This brings us to Node 3, designed to stay within reach of your deployment zone, but able to support the midfield. It consists of 2 Vindicators, a Ballistus Dreadnought, and a Techmarine. The Vindicators are equipped with their Demolisher Cannon, Hunter-Killer Missile, and a Storm Bolter. The Demolisher Cannons are a versatile weapon, able to threaten enemy armor or infantry thanks to their variable blast profile. The Ballistus Dreadnought can stay further back, leveraging its considerable range while playing the line of sight game, and helping to zone out your deployment zone. And the Techmarine in this node is just like his brother in Node 1, but for his enhancement, which is Adept of the Omnissiah, which once per battle round allows him to 0 the damage of an attack made against a friendly vehicle within 6 inches. And with the points remaining, we have one final node, which contains a single Whirlwind, intent to sit in your deployment zone and zone out enemy deep strikers while providing indirect fire support, and a Fire Strike Servo Turret, taken with Twin Last Talons. It's here to serve as a cheap Twin Last Talon which can pop out of strategic reserves. It hits on 2s and rerolls its wounds, because it's twin linked. And that's the list, clocking in at exactly 2,000 points. This is definitely a Tank Hammer style list, and in that, it is sort of a stat check given the sheer amount of high toughness wounds that are in the list. But I love how skewy it is due to its theme. 3 nodes containing Space Marine armored vehicles, Dreadnought Escorts, which are all led by a Techmarine, 2 of which can be swapped around where their enhancements can be best leveraged, along with a Whirlwind and Servo Turret as auxiliary support. It all creates a list which to me feels suitable to the Ironstorm Spearhead name. If you enjoyed this video, there are buttons for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to Julius Maximus, as well as my other generous patrons and channel members. There are certainly more ways to go about creating thematic lists, and so I invite you to share yours in the comments. And comment below with what factions you would like to see for future thematic list builds. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next one.